Dwayne, you came to my house.
I have 2 children.
How did I get pregnant with Kimande if I didn't still won't sleeping with you? You came to my house.
Sleeping with me then.
If he couldn't be in my life, he couldn't do anything for my kids. This is how it's like I had to sleep with him to get him to do anything.
Ms. Thomas and Ms. Stalwart are in court today to fight over a homeless man. That's right. Mr. Hadley here doesn't have a place to rest his head, and Ms. Thomas claims he is the father of her baby. Ms. Stalwart, who is Mr. Hadley's current girlfriend, says no way that's true. This homeless man belongs to me. Let's listen to Ms. Thomas.
I just know that we're in a love triangle between me and Tyler, and this is just going on for way too long. He keeps denying my son, but he's still around him all the time. He's acts like a father towards him when he's with me, and then he goes to Tyler and acts like he's not.
I don't act like a father towards the child at all.
Yes, he does.
Why do you think he's denying?
He's denying for Tyler.
That's really straightforward, right? But there's no such thing as straightforward in paternity court because things are about to get really awkward.
Do you spend quality time with Jeremiah like that, Mr.
No
Hadley?
quality time. But you know, if Miss Thomas is busy doing something, yeah, I'll pat the back of the child to get the child to, stop yelling. But
there's times when I'm laying in the bed and he's patting his back.
So, Ms. Thomas, you submitted a photo to the court.
Yes.
What an interesting case. Mr. Hadley is basically saying that the only reason Miss Thomas says he's her child's father is because he's great with children. That sounds obviously bonkers, but it looks like it's the argument that Ms. Thomas is going with. Also, why is Mr. Hadley around her all the time when he has his own partner? Let's see.
I was friends with Mrs. Thomas before, me and...
But was it friends with benefits? Was it friends and you were having sex as well?
Your Honor.
It didn't
let's be clear in court.
It didn't lead to sex until way later on.
But you did have a sexual relationship with her.
Yeah.
Did you use protection when you had sex?
The first time.
Wow. Okay, so there was a good bunch of bed romping and only one of 2 of these had any plastic involvement. That means in theory this baby could belong to Mr. Hadley, right? The funny thing is that Mr. Hadley also stayed with her throughout the pregnancy and the child has his child's last name. But he has a good excuse for why that happened.
Out of respect, everything. I'm going, so while I'm there, they're about to name the child, and she says the child's last name is gonna be Hadley. So, she's Jamaican, and her whole family's Jamaican, so it's a whole bunch of Jamaicans in the room, and they're like, oh, is the child's last name gonna be Hadley? And I'm not finna just
They didn't say that.
disrespect.
Hey officer, I didn't consent to robbing a store with my friend. I just didn't disagree with his idea due to it being bad vibes. Do you know how you sound, Mr. Hadley? That's how you sound. And Miss Thomas has got even more damning evidence that Mr. Hadley is her child's dad.
To Jeremiah having the last name Hadley.
I just didn't disagree due to the fact that her whole family was in the room.
Why are you so convinced he is your child's biological father, Ms. Thomas?
Because around the time where we had sex and the time my doctor told me that I conceived my son.
Do you have any evidence to support that?
Yes, I have my calendar right here.
Jerome, will you hand me this calendar?
That sounds like decent logic. Mr. Hadley also admits that he slept with her on that date without protection, but he then says he wasn't the only man sleeping with her around that period. And Ms. Thomas admits that too.
However, the time of conception, the date I had sex with the other guy was Saturday the 26th of April.
Oh, so okay, wait. Hold on. You're saying, Mr. Hadley, you know for certain that she was intimate with someone else, and Ms. Thomas, you are confirming his assertion.
Yes.
Mr. Hadley sounds so disappointed that she used a condom with the other guy. Maybe you should have used a condom as well, mister. Anyway, it's time to hear from the other woman in this love triangle.
So, Ms. Stallworth, are you in agreement with Mr. Hadley that this is not his biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
And why do you believe that to be so?
Because she was sleeping with somebody else around the same time, and the test that came back inconclusive.
And you two are in a relationship, Mr. Hadley and yourself, you all are in a relationship now?
No.
Yeah, so if I am getting this right, this is a homeless man who used to sleep with the person he is squatting with, who takes care of her child like his own, but claims he isn't the father of her child and is trying to date another woman. Am I getting this right? Really, Mr. Hadley. Now, Judge Lauren asks the vital question.
Hold on. Your things are with Miss Thomas. They're at her house.
Some
Hadley.
of them, yes.
Some
Most
of them.
Yes.
Where do you live?
With her.
No, he doesn't.
Now you live with Miss Stallworth.
No.
But your clothes are at Miss Thomas's.
He
Yes.
lives with me.
Who are you intimate with right now?
Miss Stallworth.
Miss Stallworth.
It's a back and forth. It's been like that for 2 years.
Wow, I really cannot think of a worse situation for a child to be born into. These 3 adults need to immediately get their stuff together because this situation may sound funny, but it ain't looking pretty at all. And it gets even worse.
Miss Thomas, when's the last time you were intimate with Mr. Hadley?
A couple weeks ago.
That's a
It's
lie.
not that long ago.
That is a lie.
You're laughing, Miss Stallworth?
Because this
She doesn't know. She's not there. She doesn't live with me.
I can't say if it's true or not, but from what I'm getting from him, it's not.
It's not true.
It's not like that.
lies.
I never even meant for it to even go this far with Mrs. Thomas.
It's pretty sad that two pretty ladies can be fighting over a man who doesn't even have a place to put his head. But all sorts of things happen in paternity court. It's time to put ourselves out of this misery once and for all and see who the father of the baby is.
Mr. Hadley, you are not his father.
Oh my God.
No, you gotta stop.
Yes, he has to stop.
And listen, you all have a part to play in this. But before you start getting on your high horse, Mr. Hadley, let's be clear. You've gotta stop.
Mrs. Rawlings is a bed-hopping mom who hopped from Mr. Kid's bed to another man's bed and now right back into his bed. She's such an athlete, isn't she? Now she's telling Mr. Kid that the child she got from her bed hoping adventures doesn't actually belong to him because she thinks he's impotent. True story. Here is how she puts it.
I didn't have anywhere to go. And that's how me and Mr. Kid ended up having relations because I was staying with him. But as, everything progressed and everything started off, somehow another female came into the picture. And I went off and did my own thing and was dealing with him and another gentleman also.
Oh wow, we've got a bed-hopping mum here. If you're bed-hopping as a mum, well, don't be shocked when you end up hopping right in front of Judge Lauren. So when Rawlings got preggo, who did she tell? Well, that's where things get a bit complicated.
When I found out I was pregnant, Mr. Kid told me himself that he had some type of rare form blood disease and that me and his child would die if I was pregnant by him.
Oh, he had a rare blood disease.
No.
And if he got you pregnant, the baby would not be able to be carried full term?
Your Honor,
No.
it's not a rare blood disease.
Yikes. This means he isn't really impotent. And Rawlings here just finds it super duper hard to understand the biology behind blood types. Phew, that's a relief. But let's cut Rawlings here some slack because Kid also said some cuckoo stuff to her.
I'm typically in a long-term relationship. I've never had any kind of hiccups, any thinking that they might be pregnant, any slip-ups, no.
You've never gotten anyone pregnant?
No, ma'am.
And Miss Jenkins, when did you find out about the baby?
It was approximately the mid of August of 2016.
Okay, now that we've got that right out of the way, let's get to how Mr. Kid's mom even learned that she might have a grandson. Hold on to your seats, because this goes crazy.
I got a phone call from my daughter, and she said, "Mom, you need to look at this picture." Sent me a picture of the baby. I was like, who got my son's baby pictures? She said, "That's not your son." I said, "Yes, that is. I gave birth to him. I know who he is." She said, "That's his son." And I was like, "What? Hold on. No, why am I just now hearing about this?" So I contacted his friend who gave me Miss Rawlings' number.
That's so sweet. You can tell this mama really loves her grandbaby. Sadly, we don't know if Sugarfoot is her actual grandbaby, and that's because Sugarfoot's mother says this.
You know Mr. Kid is not your child's biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a manipulation tactic.
It was, as long as you were giving her what she wanted and needed at the time, it was okay. I've never one time been told I wasn't the grandmother. She did not ever say that she doubted full-heartedly that Kevin was the father.
So Rawlings here is trying to manipulate both father and son into giving her stuff without giving them full ownership of her child. And guess what? It gets even worse because the other potential father is also around. To make things worse, she even had to give the child out because she couldn't get a place to live.
Her choice of men are not just the greatest, I guess, in the world. He wasn't safe, she wasn't safe. She was trying to get her life together. She gave me the baby for a period of time with a
How long?
I had him for a month and a couple days. Wow. And I got a handwritten letter of custody.
Let me see that, Jerome.
No, it wasn't.
You said it was a handwritten letter of custody.
Temporary custody.
This is just so messy, but I think we've heard enough. It's time to get right to the bottom of this case and get the DNA results. What do you think it will be? Will the baby belong to Mr. Kid or some other man? Let's find out.
Mr. Kid, you are the father. You are the father.
And at least even the fact that he said that he would have stood up, that was what I was still going for, period. The fact that that is his son, I am happy because me and him, we don't have a hate type relationship.
Mr. Pace says he needed a pacemaker when he found out that his partner cheated on him with his best friend and that his child may not actually be his. Phew. And Ms. Rashida Forbes admits everything. Now, they are both in court to find out who the real father is. Let's hear how it all went down.
She ended up moving in with me and Mr. Randolph. Shortly after her moving in, she became pregnant. Once we found that out, out, being that she wanted her own space, we ended up moving into another spot together. And that's where I've been ever since, as far as in the relationship with her.
All right.
Yikes, that must suck. To sleep with your man's best friend? That's extremely cold-blooded. Mr. Pace says he works a lot, but that's certainly not an excuse to cheat on your partner, right? Here is how Mr. Pace puts it.
I do work a lot. I promote clubs and parties, so I am out and I am around a lot of, I would say, women. And she kind of, I guess, takes that as me being unfaithful.
So were there trust issues?
At times, but not at the time that the situation occurred, no.
Wow, so he was a good man, and Rashida here just decided to sleep with his best friend because she was feeling insecure. What a horrible thing to do. And how did Mr. Pace even find out about this great betrayal?
Actually in a heated argument at the time that it occurred, but it kind of just got blurted out to me that Mr. Randolph could be a potential father for Prince.
Wait a minute, so you're in a heated argument as a couple, and just out of the blue she yells, and by the way, your best friend could be Prince's father?
Correct.
Really? Now get this. Randolph continued being friends with Mr. Pace, even after sleeping with his partner, and he said nothing about it. Gosh, what a horrible thing to do. Mr. Pace has been treated so horribly by both of these people. This is what happened when Mr. Pace confronted his best friend with the truth.
Meeting with him, we kind of all agreed, me and him agreed that we definitely needed to find out what was going on as far as the DNA of...
So when you met with Mr. Randolph, you asked him point blank, have you slept with Ms. Fobbs?
Yes, I did.
And he said yes.
Strangely enough, he did say yes.
That's commendable. Randolph here is such a stand-up guy that he easily admits that he slept with his best friend's girl. Too bad he was not stand-up enough not to actually do it. Anyway, let's hear from him. How could he do something so horrible?
I wasn't in the right state of mind. We both was intoxicated. He was out promoting clubs, and she used to come home from the club intoxicated and, looking for him. He's not there. Me and her talk, and, one night the talk led to something else.
And so was this sex unprotected?
Honestly, Your Honor, I was intoxicated.
Wow, so there's a really huge chance that the child in question doesn't belong to Mr. Pace, but instead belongs to his best friend. That is soul-crushing. But the good thing is that Randolph says that it was just one time, but one time is one time too many, right? Now, let's listen to Rashida tell us why she blurted out this huge secret the way she did.
I want to hold that secret, and it was something that was weighing heavy on me. So maybe it wasn't the right approach for me to give it to him at that way, but I just feel like now we're at the point of no return, so I have to do what I have to do.
So you say it was weighing heavy on you?
Yeah.
Rashida says that only Mr. Pace has been in the child's life as a father, and the boy basically only knows Randolph as an uncle. She also says she is definitely sure that one of the men in court today is her child's father. So let's see just how true that is. Let's check out the DNA test result.
Mr. Pace, you are not his father. It has also been determined by this court, Mr. Randolph, you are not.
It's a real shock that Mr. Milford can even be in court today, and that's because he was exposed to radiation while he was in the Army, and he says that radiation means he cannot father a child. And yup, that's why Mr. Milford is flabbergasted that Ms. Johnson is saying he is the father of her child. So she's either a liar, or radiation doesn't actually take away your fathering abilities. Which is it? Let's figure it out.
Your Honor, she never told me she was pregnant.
I did.
She always told me she had a tumor.
I'm sleeping with you. How would you think it's a tumor?
She told me she had a tumor.
How would you think it's a tumor if I'm sleeping with you the whole time?
Did you know at this point that he had a child with your cousin as well?
Yes, I did.
At what point did you find out you were pregnant?
I actually knew I was pregnant. I didn't tell anybody.
When?
She told
I
me
was
it
like
a
5
tumor.
months, 5 or 6 months.
Wow, there's clearly no love lost between these two. Ms. Johnson is determined to put Milford's feet to the fire, and boy oh boy is he sweating. And she has no plans of stopping at all. She's gonna steamroll this man into joining the Army again.
I was scared. I was young. I was scared. I already had 2 children. I didn't want to be pregnant again. I've been actually dating Dwayne since I was 17 with my second son, which is not his. I ended up getting pregnant with Key Harris later.
Now, Mr. Milford, when she finally
She told me she
you,
was 7 months pregnant when she told me.
So she said, and I'm 7 months.
Yeah.
At that moment, did you have instant doubt, or did you think
It was
well,
instant
maybe...
doubt.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a minute. Ms. Johnson here doesn't look like the type of woman who would be in the back room with a man, right? Let's see what she says to refute this.
Yeah, I slept with other people. I did.
I said, well, just tell her that man must be the baby daddy.
And nobody ever,
went on
because
about
that
my
conversation
business.
never happened. That never
I
happened.
went on about my business.
He come to my house and asked me, could he see his son?
Oh, wait. back up. When you saw him, did you say, oh wow, that could be my son?
No.
Oh, you didn't? But you used to sit and rock him and hold him for hours?
Wow, they really don't like each other, huh? Ms. Johnson says that she told her son that Mr. Milford wasn't his father because he was a deadbeat who only did anything for her kids because she slept with him. You might think that sounds insane, but it's not even half as insane as the fight they have after Ms. Johnson said that.
I didn't want him to be the father, but I know he is. So he wasn't around.
Your Honor.
Mr. Milford?
Yes, look, my mother told me to get this straight before she died. So I went down to the DNA place. She didn't show up. This the
It
third
never
time.
happened.
The
When did
third
that happen?
time.
When did it happen?
The third time she showed up with the kids and got to arguing with the DNA people. And
That never happened.
And they ran out the door.
When I lived in the county, I was in another relationship.
So wait, Ms. Johnson was still sleeping with him throughout all of this? Well, whose fault is that, really? But Mr. Milford still has a lot to say, and Ms. Johnson has a lot to shut him up with.
Let me tell you something, Your Honor. I've been shooting blanks since about 1986. I ain't had no more children. Yeah.
We have 2 children.
I ain't got nothing. There's no other.
We have 2
no
children.
Other
You
children
are not sleeping blank.
From since I left the military.
You believe
two
you're
children.
sterile. Please explain to me.
I worked in air defense artillery in the military, underneath radar. And I think I was sterile till at least about 89. I was knocking down everything, but nothing coming back. Nobody else had babies.
Okay, guys, that concludes it then. Milford was exposed to radiation, and then Ms. Johnson's cousin told him he couldn't be the father. That's enough evidence to get him off the hook, right? Wait, it's not enough? It's not even close to enough? Gosh, too bad, Mr. Milford. But you'll have to prove your case. Let's even hear from the cousin in question.
I had a baby by him first. I dated him all the way through school. I don't understand how they even went there.
Because Ms. Johnson is
my first cousin.
Is your first cousin?
Correct.
Do you believe he's Kiara's father?
Well, no.
You don't?
No, I don't. She was kind of like a round-away girl, okay?
When you say she, you mean Ms. Johnson?
Correct. She had already had 2 kids, and then she had him.
What? 4 to 5 people? Oh, I think we all can understand where Mr. Milford is coming from now. He knows the odds are in his favor, so he is standing his ground. But why does Ms. Johnson think Mr. Milford is the father if she was sleeping with so many people at the time?
He was the one I was consistently sleeping with. I was sleeping with him practically every day.
No.
But now, Ms. Johnson, you do understand, and I know this happened when you were younger, that it's not just about consistency, it's about the window of conception. Meaning, you could sleep with him consistently for a period of time and yet sleep with someone else one time, and they could still, in fact, be Kiara's father.
True.
Yikes! Classic Mr. Milford there. Always sugarcoating everything everywhere. The cousin says that Milford is at fault for everything, and Ms. Johnson agrees completely.
This could go on forever. I keep giving you all a little leeway to see if maybe we could get somewhere. I still don't understand how one person can go down for a DNA test 3 times. I don't understand why you don't just call and say, hey, they're calling me back in again. You want to all go together so we can get this resolved.
Before we get down to the DNA test results, Mr. Milford calls his daughter to the witness stand, and she has some words for Ms. Johnson, and those words aren't pretty at all.
She hurt by all of it, but she started the mess anyway because...
I started it because your father said something to me.
That's ridiculous.
You shouldn't have...
She should have waited.
But your father, Dwayne was the one told me I was doing the wrong thing by separating them because I didn't know what to say.
We were cousins. We were never separated. That's
no, he said I was not acknowledging who y'all actually were together. And I said, I don't know how to go about this. Just tell him.
Yeah, that's enough. Let's get to the bottom of this with the DNA test. Let's see whether Mr. Milford here is the father or there is something else happening here.
Mr. Milford, you are not his father.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Kiara. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, Kiara. Mom, I have to ask you, do you have any idea? You do.
Yes.
Do you know how to find him?
Yes.